All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artist Virtual Retreat. My name is Christine Leahy, and I'm here with my colleague, Kasia Barnes, and we are from the New York State Council on the Arts. This session is going to be recorded and later shared, so please turn off your video if you don't want to be recorded. Today's workshop is called Teaching and Presenting Theater in a Virtual World, and will be led by Kasia, Klimiuk. I'll now turn things over to our producer, Susan, for a brief review of some technical housekeeping items.
Great, thank you, Christine. On the next slide, I'm gonna just show you how you can pin the interpreter. So here you'll see if you want to pin the interpreter, you can scroll through to find the interpreter's video or webcam listed as interpreter-Laura. You can pin the interpreter by pointing your cursor to the top right of her video or webcam and getting those three dots that you can click on, and then you'll get a drop-down menu and you can select Pin Video. If you'd like to see all videos of everybody that has their webcams on, you can click on the top right of your screen where it says Gallery View, and that will show you everyone. If you'd like to come back just to Speaker View, you can click again on Speaker View to come back to Speaker View. On the next slide, I want to show you some of the, or I want to talk to you a little bit about getting troubleshooting. And basically, if you get disconnected, just try using the same link to come back in. Usually that works. We are recording these, so you will be able to watch if you miss something while you're trying to get back in, and you might just want to jot down my phone number if you need to give me a call if you get bumped out. I will chat that out to you in just a moment as well, so you'll have it there. Now on the next slide, I want to show you the meeting controls. So if you point and hover your cursor at the bottom of your screen, they'll pop out. On the far right, you can see there's a chat, and you can use that to communicate with us. So if you want to just do a quick hello, so I know that you guys have found that, that would be great. Hello to all. All right, fabulous. Hey, okay, good. You guys have found it. All right, so if we go a little bit to the left, you'll see there's our participants. Click on that, and that'll bring out your participant list. On the next slide, I have a little more information there I want to show you. How you can rename yourself. So find your name in the list. You're probably at the top. You can hover over it and then click on more, and you can choose rename and then change your name, or if you'd like, add your pronouns. So you can go ahead and do that now if you like. Also, while we're on the participant list, at the bottom on the next screen, I'm going to show you some of the images or some of the nonverbal feedback tools. I know we're getting there. There we go. So it looks a little different on your participant list at the bottom, but you should see a blue hand. So if everyone can raise their blue hands, I know you found that. Fabulous. I see Samantha and Miller and Carol and Jennifer. Great. Looks like everyone is finding that. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Christine. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Susan. So Kasia Klimiuk is a New York-based performance artist, teaching artist, director, and arts administrator. 10 years ago, she founded her own theater company, Our Fabulous Variety Show. She works as a teaching artist with several New York City organizations, and though she usually is not afraid of a little bit of travel with long-running projects in both Staten Island and the East End of Long Island, today she's going to be talking about the no commute virtual world of theater. So please welcome Kasia, and let's begin.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. I am super excited to connect with all of you. As Christine mentioned, I've been running a theater company the last 10 years. I've also been teaching theater, improv, puppetry, various acting and theater-based workshops to youth ages 5 to 18, K through 12. And recently I've also been running Illuminart Productions as education manager and helping kind of pivot from our in-person world of teaching theater in a classroom or an organization or community center to virtually. So today my goal is just to share some of the things that I have learned the last few months of the school year, from March through June, and even over the summer a little bit, doing some things virtually on an educational aspect, and also on a theatrical production aspect of presenting theater virtually. So just to give you an overview of the agenda today, this workshop is broken up into two parts. Part one, I'll be covering the educational aspect of teaching theater virtually, either on Zoom, Google Meet, whatever platform you may be using. I will share with you two games that I adapted to a virtual format, just to give you a taste of how you can kind of change games. And then if we have time, hopefully we can do a little game share. I love just learning from other teaching artists and educators, different games that are working for you, especially in this virtual format, because it is a lot of trial and error. And then part two, I will show you also just a little taste of how you can devise or create theater on a virtual platform, something that I created with my students. And then we'll do some breakout rooms towards the end, as long as we can get through everything, which I am hopeful we can, where you guys actually create a little piece of theater, a little commercial. And then of course I will open the floor to some questions at the very end. So I'm gonna actually stop sharing my screen because I wanna do some an interactive warm up. So I do invite you to actually please have your video on if you feel comfortable. If you don't, I totally understand. This first game that we're going to do can be used as a warm-up, and it's called Enter the Screen. And if you're familiar with a game called Cross the Room, this is an adaptation of that. So generally Cross the Room in person would be two sets of groups on either side of a room, a classroom, and they're going to be crossing to each side based on the prompts that are given. So for example, someone might say, cross the room if you have a dog. And then if that pertains to you and you agree with it, you would cross the room. So we're going to do this virtually in this Zoom, in this box that we've all been living in the past few months. So I'm going to ask you, if you're in a chair, you might want to stand up. If you're in a swivel chair like I am, you can also swivel to the side. But I do ask that you all kind of hide yourself right now from view so I can't see you on your screen. So I'm going to say a prompt, and if you agree with the prompt, you will enter the screen, and you can do that however you please, either walking right on or popping your head in a funny way. It's up to you. All right, here we go. Enter the screen if you have taught classes virtually this year. Awesome. You guys can hide again. Enter the screen if you have siblings. Awesome, you can hide again. Enter the screen if you love to cook. All right, you can hide again. Enter the screen if you've ever been on stage before. And I love seeing some people using puppets and different things to enter. I love that. All right, hide again. I'm going to open the floor to also allow you guys to make statements. So if you want to make a statement, just raise your hand or select that little hand on the participant screen, and I will call on you and you can unmute and say your prompt. But I'll keep going with two more. Enter the screen if you love Italian food. Excellent. You can hide again. Enter the screen if you are from another country. Awesome. You can hide again. Do I have anybody raising their hand? I'm just going to peruse if anybody wanted to do their own prompt. I'm using this as a way to get to know each other. So I'm simply making prompts around things we might have in common, learning about people in the room. So if I have anybody, you could even give me wiggle fingers if you want to share one like this. Carol.
Okay. Enter the room if you speak more than one language.
Thank you so much, Carol. I
You're
love it.
welcome.
Anyone else want to share one? Give me wiggle fingers. Ellen, please share with us.
The room if you like to write.
All right, can I have one more volunteer? Give me some wiggle fingers. Rashida, am I saying that right? Rashida?
Yep. Yep,
Go ahead.
right. Enter the room if you love to dance. Oh, yeah. That's good.
Awesome. All right, and one last one. Can I have one last volunteer, please? Show me some wiggle fingers if you'd like to share a prompt. Barry, go ahead, Barry.
Enter the room if you have managed to get some form of financial assistance through all this.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for sharing and for moving around a little bit with us. I can invite everybody back to their seats. And I'm going to share my screen one more time to bring my presentation back. All right, so that game, you can use it as a warm-up. I love using it as a warm-up, especially on the first day of a workshop or a class, just to get to know the group. You can also use it as a main activity. You can gauge it and use it for a variety of topics, such as finding out what are the emotions in the room, what is the knowledge in the room. If you're teaching a theater class and you want to find out what do these students know already. Enter the room if you've ever read a script before. Enter the screen if you've ever been on stage before. You can also do it for interest, like I said, to get to know the group. And you can do it to explore different types of themes of all sorts. What I love about that is it introduces some movement and it gets everybody up, because often in virtual settings, we're sitting in chairs and we're kind of stuck in the box. So it invites us to get our bodies moving and grooving. So I'm gonna actually introduce another game. This one is one sentence story, which a lot of you might be familiar with. It's a great improv tool. I've used it a lot. The way I usually play it in an in-person setting or a traditional setting is sitting in a circle and using one sentence to create a story together. So I'm going to stop my share. If I could have 4 volunteers to model this with me real quick. If you could raise your hand or give me some wiggle fingers. Sheila, I see Summer. I see 2 more people, please. Anyone else? Heidi, and 1 more, Gerald. Great. And I'm gonna put myself at the beginning in the chat. If you notice, I have listed just an order. So Kasia, Sheila, Summer, Heidi, and Gerald. We're gonna create a 1-sentence story, and our goal is just to stay on the same topic and the same page. Yes, and, which is a core principle of improv that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, kind of accepting each other's ideas and moving the story forward. So wiggle fingers for my volunteers that you're ready and that makes sense. Any other questions? Awesome. So our order will be Kasia, Sheila, Summer, Heidi, Gerald, and we'll go around maybe 2 loops. We'll go around and create our story. So I will begin. Once upon a time, there was a magical wizard named George.
George was most famous for his ability to make a duck jump out of the water and turn into a had an A there. Oh, into a cat.
Thank you. And Summer?
People gathered from wide and far to see this wizard turn ducks into cats. Rumor had it that he would be able to finally end the mouse infestation with his powers.
The mice throughout the village trembled in fear every time a cat would appear, but they always ran back into their mouse holes.
And Gerald?
One day, the wizard came to the shore and called upon the duck to turn into a cat. But now the cat leapt out of the water and devoured the wizard.
Oh.
And as
Mice cheered.
the mice cheered, all of a sudden the cat started to become magical, just like the wizard, and he had all of these magical powers that he never had before.
One of the things that the cat could do was wiggle his nose, and a mouse would immediately disappear. But even worse than that, he would say, meow, and all 9 lives would appear at one time.
With these majestic powers, this wizard cat could make 9 mice disappear at once. What could they do to combat this new wizard cat, wondered the mice.
The mice ran throughout the village, collecting all the bells they could find. They had once read a story about bells being put around a cat, and somehow that would protect them.
And now, when the wizard cat appeared, the mice began to ring the bells. And the bells made such a beautiful song that suddenly all the people in the village said, "Oh, wizard cat, stop, stop, listen to the beautiful song that the mice can make for all of us to enjoy."
And everyone in the village lived happily ever after. Give yourselves a big round of applause for that. Amazing. Thank you so much for modeling that with me. So I love to use that to build scenes, to create theatrical moments, to start to develop a story or play. A lot of my work is centered in devising or creating original theater. So I've been figuring out ways of how to still do that virtually and present it virtually. So a modification on that game that I like to do, and a challenge I'm going to offer all of you right now, is I'm going to give you 30 seconds to find an object in your house, a random object. It can be anything, and you can bring it back here to share with us. The clock starts now. Go.
Where they were.
3 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. All right. So if anybody wants to just raise their hand, and I can call on different people to kind of share. What did you find? Seth, tell us.
I found this hammer.
Excellent. Anyone else? Rachida.
I found this beautiful earring.
Ooh, very pretty. Anyone else? Carol.
I found some beads.
Excellent. I'm going to go to page 2 because I see there's also people on that screen. I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Anyone else want to share their objects? Can you give me some wiggle fingers? Barry.
I found a little decorative dragonfly.
Awesome. And Bobby, I saw your hand up.
I found breakfast that I never finished.
I love it. Awesome. So another great thing is bringing challenges in for students or participants to get up, get moving, find something. And we're actually going to use these objects again with our 1-sentence story activity. So if I could have 4 volunteers again to give me some wiggle fingers and let me know they want to volunteer for this activity. So I've got Seth, And anyone else? Gail? I'm going to go to page 2 to make sure if I see anyone. All right. Carol? And anyone else? Sheila, awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm just putting that order in the chat. And again, this is exactly how I would facilitate it as well with students or participants. I would put in the chat the order, or you can also call on people. But I find if you put the chat in the order and everybody just kind of glances at it, then we can flow with our story. So your objective now with the game is to incorporate your object. And my object is actually a candle. And so as we're making this story, we have the challenge of bringing this prop or this object into the story somehow and making sense of it. Still staying on the same page, still saying yes and moving the story forward. So I will begin, and then our order will be Seth, Gail, Carol, and Sheila. In the essence of time, I'll kind of have us do one loop around, and then I'll try to finish it up. So there once was a candle whose light never, ever went out.
Down the block from the candle lived a hammer who generally was very angry.
Gail? Gail, we're having trouble hearing you. No worries. We can go on to Carol.
But when the hammer got angry, his mother would come and swing her magical beads in front of him just to calm him down.
One day, his mother realized something was wrong with the hammer. He was hot. So she brought a thermometer to take his temperature.
And Gail, I'm going to invite you now if you want to participate in the chat. Can you give us a sentence in the chat since we're having trouble hearing? Thank you, Sheila, for that suggestion. Oh, the chat's not working either. Okay. So sorry. All right, so then I'm going to do one more loop. Sheila, what was that very last piece you said? Can you just remind me? The temperature.
Yes, he got sick. Well, he looked very hot. His mother took his temperature with the thermometer.
That's right. And then all of a sudden, the candle blew out.
The hammer felt better, but knew that something was wrong, that he had something he wasn't supposed to have. So he walked down the road to look to see if anybody was missing anything.
And it was his mother, because that boy done went and took her beads, and she was really hot.
And the hammer looked at his mom, who he knew was hot, and he knew he shouldn't have said it, but he just couldn't help himself. Mom, do you want me to get a thermometer and take your temperature?
Gail put something in the chat.
Yes, and then Gail says, and the hammer slipped on a banana and broke his hammer leg. To be continued.
That's what you get for talking back.
Give yourselves a round of applause for that. Awesome, awesome. So that was great work. Just another way to incorporate items and give people challenges to move around. I'm going to bring back my screen just to share a little tidbit with you guys. And so we did enter the screen, one sentence story. You can add the challenge, like I said, of incorporating a found random object. And just closing up part one of this, I've given you a really super quick taste of some of the games I've done virtually. But you can do lots of things with objects, right? So even, you know, if the challenge is to go grab a costume piece, a scarf, a hat, a cape, and then invite the students to create the story around that. Or have them hop onto a, you know, role play talk show where you're the talk show host and you're interviewing them. Or it's a news broadcast and they have their object or their costume piece. And then you can create theater around that. So just a couple of bullet points that I've listed here, things that I've noticed that are working well virtually, because it can be very challenging, especially when you have students who are not turning on their screens and you are trying to do interactive games like this. I find the challenges of like, go get that object or go get that prop, that costume piece, can really help and excite them. It's important you also bring the energy and the excitement, because I have found that as a teaching artist and an educator, you know, it's almost just as, you know, energy consuming as performing, where you have to be on, you have to be energetic, you have to be kind of assessing all the needs in the room. I find it's even more mentally and physically exhausting to be on this screen for some reason. And I think that's because you are the one that's really running the ship and controlling everything, and you have to be kind of paying attention to everything and making sure everyone is engaged. So you really got to bring the energy to really get that engagement and that participation to come back to you. Really important to think outside the box, right? There's so many great games that we can play in person, but how do we adapt them to work on this video screen? Some of them don't work, you know, sometimes things just fall flat. And I have found these last few months, it was a lot of trial and error, trying a game or activity. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. But finding ones like these that are really successful. I find that incorporating movement, very helpful, getting the kids out of their seats, getting participants to stand up, even if it's a basic stretch warm up at the beginning, offering challenges like I did today. And something that I'm going to dive into more in the second half of this, the Zoom features of the whiteboard and the breakout rooms. And also sharing content. You know, what's nice about this video screen and this virtual platform is that we can share videos or show, you know, pieces of plays or shows that have been done already through this Zoom or Google Meet. So one last thing I want to do in this section, I'm going to stop my share and come back to you guys. So one thing I always, you know, I love connecting with other educators and teaching artists, especially those working in theater during this time, is sharing some games. So if you guys in the chat just want to take 1 minute or two to kind of list what are some other things that you have noticed, whether it be games or just methods that are working virtually, if you could just go ahead and type them in the chat. And then I'll kind of try to maybe pinpoint some of them we can share out and talk about a little bit. And as these come in, I'll also read them to you guys. We've got Pass the Clap, Zip, Zap, Zop, Rock, Paper, Scissors on Zoom. They have to make shapes with their bodies on the screen. Teaching dance virtually and offering breaks with yoga. Breaking into teams. Playing a game called Statues that the kids like. Lightning challenges. Solfege hand signals to engage musically. Counting or alphabet game. What's behind you? You have to tell a story about something that is in your background. That's amazing. All of these are amazing. A silly game called Broccoli Broccoli. Facial expressions. This is not a stick. Ah, yes, this is not a stick. Is that where you have a prop and you change it into other different things, Sheila?
I think, not me, but yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I read the wrong. Sophia, this is not a stick. You could just give a thumbs up if that's right. I'm not sure where to find you, but I love that you shared. Thank you so much. You could vary enter the screen with body prompts. Put your elbow in, come close to the camera, or go far from the camera. Love it. Breathing exercises. Amazing. In the essence of time, I would love to even dive into these and try one out together, but we only have an hour. So the only thing I want to clarify that I was not sure, Blake, if you are willing to share solfege hand symbols. What is, am I saying that right? Solfege?
Yeah, solfege. So it's essentially just going through those, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and they each have a hand symbol, right? And so as a music theater teaching artist, one of the biggest struggles that I encounter is teaching music virtually because you have the issue with lag. And so this way, at least like I'll play along the do, re, mi song from Sound of Music, and I'll sing through it, and I'll have my students mimic the hand symbols as we go through that song.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. You guys have so many amazing suggestions. Two more that just came in: describe anything in their room that the rest of the Zoom participants can't see, and using common household objects to inspire movements. Scissors was a slicing motion. Pants was a little hop, like when you're putting it on. Puppets acting out short situations, 1 minute. So thank you all so much for sharing that. That was just a brief taste of games in the virtual world and some things that I have been doing. Moving into part 2 of this presentation is devising theater or presenting theater in a virtual platform. So one of the things that's really great on Zoom that you can do is a whiteboard. So often in the classroom or an in-person setting, I like to have graffiti boards or a smart board, poster paper, butcher paper up on the wall just to jot down ideas. And one of the things I did in one of my recent virtual variety shows where we were creating sketch routines, we would improv to get to those sketch routines or ideas. And one thing we did was scenes around quarantine. And what does it feel like to be in quarantine with your family, with your partner, with your siblings, with whoever you may be with yourself if you are alone. So the whiteboard is a great way to do a brain dump or a brainstorm. So if you've never used this before on Zoom, at the very top of your screen next to the green bar, you should see View Options. And you click the View Options. There is a button called Annotate. Once you click Annotate, you should be able to draw and write on this whiteboard that you see in front of you. So my prompt for you today, when you hear the word quarantine, what does that make you think of? And I'll give you guys about a minute and a half or so to kind of jot down. You can also do text. There's a text button. So if you do a little text box, quarantine is awful, right? Something like that. Quarantine is fun. So you're free to draw, you're free to write. You can also use the chat as well if you're having trouble using the whiteboard, whatever works best for you. But again, your prompt, and I can put that into the chat. When you hear the word quarantine, what does that make you think of? And yes, the instructions to get to the whiteboard. So at the very top of your screen, you should see something that says screen share at the top, and it's a green bar, kind of like a long skinny rectangle. Next to that is a drop down that says View Options. Once you select that, there is another button that you want to click called Annotate, and that will allow you to see the various whiteboard features, such as text, draw, stamp, spotlight, undo, redo. And if you're having trouble with the whiteboard, again, you can utilize the chat. All right, just give you a couple more seconds to jot down whatever you want to jot down or draw. Great. All right, and as you guys finish up those last few things, I'm just going to read some of the things I see. Zombies, Zoom fatigue, all these screens, stuck in spaces, the unknown going on forever. Quarantine is awful. lonely, isolation, danger, carrot cakes and walks, cinnamon rolls, inside, eek, stuck, gah, hazmat. And I see lots of drawings of people in boxes and somebody who looks like they're screaming. Amazing. All right, so I'm going to save this so we can have it forever. And I'm going to stop my share real quick. So like I said, this was something that I did with my students when we were creating a virtual variety show. And I'm going to show you a short video clip with something that came out of that. One of the students shared their life in quarantine with their parents and what that's like.
Honey, I brought you something.
I'm trying to act like I'm busy. Could you please go away?
I know you're very busy, but listen, I brought you your favorite chamomile tea.
That's not my favorite. Just go away. Get the one that we normally get.
Honey, you used to love chamomile tea when you were a baby and you loved me back.
Who said I didn't love you? Me, never mind.
Listen, I know you're really busy, but I want to see you. I haven't seen you in 3 days.
Then why didn't you just open the door?
You know I can't open the door because the door is locked.
Then why didn't you just ask me to unlock it?
You're right, honey. Okay, please unlock the door.
No.
So that was just a short little scene that I created with one of my students around quarantine. And actually, she was kind of reprising the role of this very sassy character that she had played in one of my shows. So what you'll notice is with virtual theater is it's very much like a movie or a film. And you kind of have to work with your surroundings. How can you incorporate your environment? And that was just an example of using a whiteboard or a graffiti dump to kind of generate ideas. And that one, we really just talked it out. We had a discussion. I've worked with these kids for a really long time. That particular student I've worked with for about 5 years now. So we kind of have a great working relationship where we can really just talk it out and then improvise. She's a great improviser and create something. So that was just an example of devising virtually and how you can use the features on Zoom to do that. And going back to my screen share real quick. The last thing that is kind of going to lead us into the breakout rooms today that I want to share with you all is using one sentence story to build a commercial. So this is just an example of another thing I did in another virtual show where we use the alphabet and the structure of the one sentence story to create a commercial. In this case, you're trying to create it around a specific topic or theme. And one of the things we did was create commercials. First, we just did this one sentence commercial where basically using the alphabet. So you would start with A, B, C, D, and every sentence had to start with the first letter of the alphabet. And if I could have 3 volunteers to kind of help just read these lines. This is kind of something that came out of that devising of a commercial. Berry. Awesome. 2 more. Universal Carnival, and I can't see the rest of your name, but you can be the second volunteer. And 1 more, Blake. Awesome. So actor 1 will be Barry. Actor 2 will be Universal Carnival, and actor 3 will be Blake. Go ahead.
Introducing the COVID Sponge, brought to you by the creators of the Robo Sponge.
And Blake, our Universal Carnival, you would be next? You just have to unmute yourself.
The COVID sponge keeps COVID sadness away. Feeling too much anxiety? Wash it away with the COVID sponge. Only $19.99.
And Blake, could you jump in as actor 2 for me?
Sure thing. Only $19.99.
Everyone should have one because we all have the virus.
Only $19.99.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. So if I could have maybe just one volunteer to model this really quickly with me. And before we do that, can everybody in the chat please list some products that we could sell? Random things. Totally random things. They don't have to exist. They could be existing in real life, whatever you want. A left-handed smoke shifter. Let it gravel, brings me stuck away. I love it. All right, so I'm going to pick the magic mailbox. And if I could have one volunteer to model this with me, and then you guys will go do it in breakout rooms. Was anybody going to give me some wiggle fingers? Or you could raise your hand with the participant features.
I'm always up for something.
Got Sheila.
Sheila, thank you so much. All right, so the way this will work, we are trying to create a commercial around the magic mailbox. We are commercial sales agent actors, and we're going to use the alphabet. So I'm going to start with A, and then your next sentence would start with B. I would go C, D, E, F, G. Got it? All right. Here we go. Amazing new product. The magic mailbox is only $49.99, and it's coming to a home near you.
But if you don't get in quickly, you'll miss this special sale.
Can you really miss this special sale today? I don't think so.
Deals come, deals go, but this deal is only around for 24 hours.
Everyone should buy a magic mailbox because everyone needs some magic in their life.
Friends, families, acquaintances, who couldn't use a magic mailbox?
G, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, sorry. Good golly G, you need this magic mailbox in your house today.
Hit the phones right now, 1-800-MAIL-BOX, and we'll have it sent to you.
I have a magic mailbox, and I endorse this product.
Just in case you didn't know, I have a mailbox too.
All right, give it up for Sheila. Woohoo! Awesome. So you guys get the gist of that. You can see some of the products that we've listed in the chat. I'm going to have you guys go into great breakout rooms for 5 minutes. Susan, if you could set that up for me, and then we'll come back together and kind of wrap it all up. So in your breakout room, you are going to do the same thing we just did, but you'll obviously have more people. Susan, let's do groups of 5.
Okay.
And in your group of 5, you'll use the alphabet to create your one-sentence commercial. Remember, the more energy you bring, the more animated it is, enthusiastic, super entertaining, right? Have fun with it. Let your imaginations go wild. And you can also choose a product that's not listed in the chat if you have some burning desire to sell something else.
All right, I've created the rooms. And if you do want to go in the room with the interpreter, if you could send me a chat, you can change the, just chat me directly to let me know. Otherwise, I will open the rooms and you'll get a pop-up that'll just say join and you can jump in. And then you said 5 minutes, right, Kasia?
Yes, please.
All right, I'm going to open the rooms. So it looks like we have some people that did not hop into the breakout room. If you're having an issue, let me know. Maybe you just needed to step away.
Susan, are you able to put me in another room? I was just in 6. I was wondering if I could hop around.
Sure. How about I start with 1?
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's see. You were in 6. I'm going to move you to 1. Did you get your pop-up?
Yes, thank you.
So Casey, Cheryl, Melissa, Nancy, or Tom, if you want to go into a breakout room and you're having any issues, just unmute yourself so you can let me know and I can see if I can help. You want me to put you in another room, Kasia?
Please.
All right. Send you to room. You were in 1, right?
Right, and 6.
Okay. You should have gotten a pop-up for 2.
Yes, thank you. How much time is left?
I think we have about 2 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Huh? It's 4:48. All right, 3. There you go.
Thank you so much. This could be the last one I pop into.
Okay.
Susan, what's the time left?
4:51.
And then in the breakout room, how much time is left?
Oh, they get, I just closed it. They, 43 seconds, everyone will come back and some people are coming on their own.
Great.
And the breakout rooms are closed.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Sure.
Awesome. So as everybody filters back in, raise your hand if you got through the whole alphabet. Ooh, yeah, see a lot of people. Awesome. Raise your hand if you got through half the alphabet. That would be like M, around M. JKLMN. Awesome. So we don't have a ton of time left. I did want one of the groups to share, but I also want to have time for your questions. I see one already popping into the chat, and I did see one earlier, I think around, somebody had asked, how do you prevent them writing or putting graffiti on other things you present in screen share? You know, at the top of each session, I kind of make a disclaimer of please don't write on the board. You know, you kind of have to make sure they wouldn't do that in a classroom, you know, if you were writing on the board, or I always remind them to keep it positive and, you know, no foul language or anything kind of potty humor, as I like to say. Not saying I want to censor them, because of course kids love to talk about all the, you know, dirty, wrong things. But just saying that out front and being transparent, like, you know, we're all trying to learn and engage here. That's just going to be a distraction to everyone. Thank you for that question. And then what's the best way to handle the issue of having more students that will fit on one screen? Seth, what do you mean by that? Do you mean if you have multiple, like right now where I have more than...
Yeah, I've been doing some workshops, and so far, all the training the stuff I did back in the late spring, I never had more than 23 or 24 students. So I could always see all of them, and they could all see me when we were playing games together, whether pass the clap or all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, can I do a workshop for 30 where I'm going to have some of them that I can't see all the time and have to swap between screens?
Yeah, unfortunately with the Zoom platform, you can't really go around that. Google Meet, however, I think when you do grid view, you can see everyone at once. So I don't know if it would be easier for you to use Google Meet. It's not as great of a platform as Zoom. I found Zoom is much more intuitive and just the features are much better. What you could do if you have even co-facilitators, or you have, is this with what age group?
Well, it's 3rd through 8th grade. I've worked with 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade so far.
Gotcha. The breakout rooms,
mostly for the group warm-ups and stuff like that.
Right. I think with Zoom, we're kind of limited. Maybe they'll expand it. Maybe that's something we could ask them. You know, they keep upgrading things and changing them based on the demand of what we need, which is really great. So maybe that's something we could push for, because that would be great to have a lot of people on one screen. Thank you for bringing that up. And somebody actually said something in the chat. I would break them into groups if possible, have them break in the middle of the alphabet and turn on and off camera to make sure everyone sees the same thing on one page. That's another thing. If you guys aren't familiar with this Zoom feature, so if you click the little 3 dots on your video screen, so if I stop my video right now, and let's say, you know, we had 3 people presenting a scene. I stop my video, and then I hit those 3 dots again, and I hide non-video participants. So now I only see the people whose videos are on. So this feature is great, let's say if you wanted to share a scene, right? Let's say you went in the breakout rooms, and right now we all came back. I want to see one of your commercial creations. I only have 5 people visible on the screen. So Seth, that doesn't fully answer your question. That's more of isolating everything. But unfortunately, I don't think you can see everyone at once. Before we dive into more questions, I just want to do one more thing and somehow bring myself back. There we go. Awesome. All right. My last little screen share here, and I've said a lot of this already, so I'll kind of just go through this relatively quickly. And that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so best practices. So again, presenting theater virtually, I gave you guys a little snippet of something that I have done, using the whiteboard, using the breakout rooms to create scenes, to brainstorm, to generate content. Improv your way to scenes or sketches with games like one word story, one sentence story, one sentence commercial. use the space around you, right? You noticed in that scene where I went to the door, I was not in the same space as that student that I did the scene with in that video. I was at my house, she was at her house, but I went to the door to create the illusion that we were in the same house. So, you know, theater is really turning into movie and film now because we are on these screens. So I'm not a movie or film expert on it by any means. So I'm just figuring out ways of how I can manipulate this box to my advantage. So keep that in mind when you're presenting things virtually, because there is a lot you can do. You know, you can do entrances and exits even, where you have people off screen. And, you know, if I was gone, and now I'm back, right? Obviously I could have a better entrance than that one, but how can you use the traditional aspects of theater? How can you use the traditional aspects of theater on this virtual platform? And again, a lot of the scenes I've been doing have been with less actors. So 2-person scenes, 3-person scenes. The hardest part of Zoom and creating theater, or, you know, things, presentational things around it, is the lag. So with my student actors, with young people, I've been trying to teach them, you know, you have to wait for that sentence to finish, and you almost wait a beat or a breath before you start your next thing, because, you know, everybody has a different Wi-Fi connection and we don't know when we're talking. So finally, the last part is just questions from you guys. I already saw some things in the chat. Let me just take a look. Some people brought up some other things. Arranging, yeah, we can't arrange people's videos. That's very frustrating as well on Zoom. And you can ask people to turn off their videos. So we have about 2 minutes left. I open the floor to any questions that you all may have. I have a resource document that I'm going to share with you guys. I have a website with my theater company. It's Our Fabulous Variety Show. And then I have a Google Doc that I'm going to share with all of you. I'm going to actually put it in the chat right now. In this doc, I've listed the organizations that I work with. So my theater company, Illuminart Productions, where I'm the education manager, and also some resources that these organizations have created. So with Illuminart, we created an entire YouTube page of videos created by teaching artists in art, dance, theater, film, spoken word, puppetry, cooking videos, language videos, and there's over 50 videos on there. This was just another way of connecting with our students, of providing them content in a video format, because we could not be in person with them or access them virtually yet. So before we transitioned completely to virtual learning and having our residencies in a virtual format with those students, we created a plethora of videos that you can check out. It's on that document. And I also work for New York City Children's Theater as a teaching artist. They've also created something called the Creative Clubhouse. I made a couple videos for them where we used books and explored different children's books through theater and added activities to that as well. So another great resource for you guys. And then I also, at the bottom of the document, just listed a bunch of books. And these are books around theater games and activities that I've used over the years that are really useful. And then I'm just, you know, finding that game that I love or finding a new one and figuring out how can I adapt it to this virtual platform, because it's super challenging, but you can also make it work. And I know as teaching artists and educators in the arts, all of us are super resilient, and I've seen like so many amazing things happen these last few months. And I know that we're going to be in this place for a bit longer. So it's just about adapting, thinking outside the box, and really making it work.
Kasia, thank you so much. We're just about at time, but if people want to continue this conversation on our Facebook page, I'm just about to pop a link to that into the chat. And just as a way of wrapping up, I want to thank everyone for attending today's session. Before we end, we'd love to take a minute to hear from you about how this workshop resonated with you. So our producer is now going to post a quick poll. Please take a moment to answer the 3 questions. And recordings of this workshop and others will be available on NASA's YouTube page within the week. Look to the chat in just a moment. I'm going to pop in the link for the Facebook group, and watch your email inbox for a brief survey every Friday of the retreat to let us know what you think. We hope you'll join us for tomorrow's sessions, which will be Financial Wellness for Teaching Artists with Elaine Grogan-Luttrell and putting community at the center of a community-based arts organization with Alyssa Suter, Hector Morales, and Fritz Napoleon. And on Thursday, please join your state's cohort for the weekly meetup. The 2020 Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artists Virtual Retreat is a co-sponsored project of the Mid-Atlantic State Arts Agencies in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. We are grateful for the generous support of all these collaborators and grateful for your participation today. Thank you and have a great rest of your day. And as promised, I am now going to go to the chat.
Can I just say something really quickly, Christine?
Sure.
We weren't given access to like see the Google documents, so I think maybe that might need to be updated.
Okay, did you hear that, Kasia? If you can't do it right now, then maybe you could post it on the Facebook page. So if everyone could head over there and check, and that will be posted later. And
For
please,
sure. I'm updating the permissions right now. Sorry about that.